we go. Here I am with Alex Magleby, CEO and co-founder of the New England Free Jacks, and a very exciting message that we're bringing today to everyone across New England involved in the rugby scene and not yet involved in the rugby scene. That off the back of the mountain of work behind the scenes to date, the Free Jacks have announced a New England-wide academy system that will provide additional learn-to-play, development, identification, and competition opportunities across the region. So Mags, very excited to talk to you about this and ask a few really quick questions to get a bit more insight to what people may want to know.
TK, great to see you, and thanks for all your efforts, and Ollie and so many other people into getting us to this point. It's so excited. But now the real work gets to start, but this is like the real fun part where we get to share it with everybody and really start to build rugby in our region and treat the sport how it should be treated, because it's just such an amazing game.
Absolutely, and I know this is your brainchild, Mag, so you're what better man to talk to us about sort of what's going to be going on in the next couple weeks, months, and even years. But the first question that I'll ask is, what is an RTG, Regional Training Group, and how were the regions selected?
Yeah, so there's a couple questions in there, and you brought up another point earlier. Certainly there's a lot of people that have had input into building a system here, and we're going to have to build a system that is flexible based on the current numbers of participants today, where we are with performance rugby today in the region, and what work we have to do ahead of us. And so the whole take best case practices from other sports, not only in the United States, but other countries, from the Olympic movement, all other pieces that we can see. How best can we increase access to our sport, and all the different iterations of that, whether that's 7s, 15s, 10s, contact, non-contact, touch, flag, scholastic, club. Let's make sure people have opportunities to access it, fields, coaching, referees, insurance, as well as when they do access it, that we're maximizing the experience they have. And we're making sure that the coaches have a great experience, the players have a great experience, the referees do, and they have a clear line to move forward in their rugby, whether that's recreational. I think a lot of clubs do a good job of that. But for our case, professional rugby and certainly the international game, that's a really important piece. So that's what we're trying to do here. And we have, in fact, started to say, here are the roads, even though we don't quite have all the cars yet ready to drive on those roads. That's what we're building out. So we've regionalized it in terms of making sure that if wherever you are in New England, pretty quickly you can get in a car and you can get to an opportunity to upskill, to be identified. Access to identification is really important to higher honors for us, and to learn to be a better rugby player, and then be able to take that back to your team and to your club. And so doing so, we're going to have better clubs because of that. We're going to have better teams because of that. Oh, and by the way, then you're going to be able to compete with players at your level in your area in time, and that's pretty cool.
Fantastic. And Mags, you touched on some good points there about the overview and the sort of the grand plan of the academy. How regularly do you anticipate, to begin with, the Free Jacks will be getting out to these different locations?
Right. So what we tested this summer, was in effectively South Shore, Boston areas. Just what can we do right now, given COVID? And that was really important that we made sure that whatever we're doing here is going to be really safe. And that's why we're not rushing into competition, where I think you see some people out there trying to do that. And that's great. If they can do that safely, that's awesome, and provide those opportunities. I think for us, and based on the input we're getting from our medical team, there are certain ways that we can do this safely, and certain ways that we're not able to do certain things at this time. But we're looking forward in the next month, certainly, to getting into all the regions, month and a half, and making sure that we have those touch points. We're starting to build the coaching nous in those regions already through our coach development programs that have been virtual for the last 6 months. And so we're really starting to improve the coaches, which are really at the nucleus of all this. We can't create more programs if we don't have coaches. We can't create better programs if we don't have better coaches. So, coaching is certainly at the nucleus of that, and then build those infrastructures as we go. I think of the tracking days and clinics, those are around the corner.
Fantastic. And it's sort of tri-tiered in nature. So there's the learn to play element, there's the junior jacks element, and then there's the independence element. How does that look like in terms of accessing those different regional touch points and bringing it all together to eventually have some competition and higher performance opportunities?
Yeah, so I'll take an anecdote from one of the regions that we've kind of started to build out beta. That's the River Rangers, that's Upper Valley, that kind of borders central Vermont, central New Hampshire, so on the western border there of New Hampshire. We've met with all the town rec department heads, and they're all really, really excited to implement non-contact rugby from 6 years old to 8th graders effectively in those towns. Those towns are going to compete against each other come this spring, and that's really exciting. As those kids get access to the game, the non-contact version of the game, and suddenly say, you know what, I'm really excited about this. Where's a local club? How can I get involved? And then making sure they have that opportunity. And there's not a whole bunch of clubs floating around, right? There's a few, but just making sure that those touch points are there and they get access to that. But then you imagine the best players coming out of those situations are now playing in the high school teams, because now there's demand in the high school. And then they're working with the university students, the best of the college students. Oh, and by the way, there's 3 or 4 free jacks that live in the area who have to do their off-season training as well. Oh, and there's 3 or 4 Olympic caliber athletes, who are playing for our women's Eagles and other pieces like that, who are also training in the area. So you get all those people together, and this is very much like the Chinese diver model, the best of each age, and they get together and they get to learn off each other and mentor each other. And those are your upskilling opportunities. You're working with an Olympian, you're working with a free jack, which is very, very cool. And then as those areas grow, and as we get more and more qualified athletes and coaches in each area, then those areas can now start competing against each other on the field in the off club season, and they're their own little micro all-star teams. By doing so, we're going to get out of that at the top some really, really good age grade players who can become All-Americans and eventually become U.S. Eagles. And certainly we're going to get some great free jacks out of that in time as well.
Fantastic. And Meg, so the next one here is, if I'm a coach, a player, or a volunteer even, can I also get involved for the coaches and volunteers?
TK, I really hope that the people understand that that's first and foremost. We want folks to get involved, because we have to provide opportunities to create more of those people, right? And also the people who are doing it, making sure they have all the tools they need to be the very, very best that they can be as coaches or administrators or referees. Then that's how we move this game forward.
Cool. Fantastic. And if I've got a region or a field or a location or a club and I want the Free Jacks to come to me, is that possible? And if so, how do I get that to happen?
Yeah, before COVID, we had been to 40 different clubs, right? In just a few months' time. Getting to their clubs, sharing what we're all about. Here's our nomenclature. What are you going through? What lessons can we learn from each other? And that will continue, right? And just making sure that we have those relationships that we can continue to build. And certainly if you have infrastructure and other things that you want to share with a wider audience in your region, awesome, let's do it. And let's make sure we do it safely. And we got all the pieces in place. And that's where we come in, because we're spending this money, we're making sure we have infrastructure, we have insurance, we have all the things that are needed, really high quality coaching, really, really good players who can then come in and help, around the edges in those situations.
Brilliant, Megs. And it's great seeing us get to all those little locations. We're getting up to Portland, we're getting down to Connecticut, we're getting across to Worcester, we're getting all over the states, which is fantastic to provide those opportunities. But what will the competitive elements look like for the junior jacks level and for the independents, men and women? What will that look like at the competitive level?
Yeah, so the question is, who do we have, right? And that's, I think right now you could probably say we could put a pretty good all-star high school team together at the junior jacks level for girls and boys. You could say, you know what, if we did this right and got everybody was committed to that cause who competes in rugby, we could put a pretty good team together that could represent this region against other Major League Rugby teams, their academy teams, as well as overseas clubs and everything else at kind of that high school varsity level. The question is, can we do the same for under 16s right now? Time will tell over the next few months if that talent is there quite yet, but we'll get there. And under 20s, we certainly believe Froshoffs in college and their summer experience can put a really competitive under 20s team together with the college level of college play we have in New England, both on the women's and the men's side. I think we can put a pretty compelling team together. And then at the senior club level, kind of that, I'm a senior in college, I'm leaving. Now I'm in the club system, or I'm about to be in the club system. Some really, really good clubs historically on the field and off the field. And which brings up, a really good important piece to this is, we've had these chunks in our whole rugby pathway in the United States for a while that didn't exist. And so we have this really massive recruitment and retention issue. If someone gets really excited about rugby and then there's this gap and it's not closed, this is designed to hopefully help close some of those gaps to keep people moving on through the sport. And that's what we're really excited about. So then this year it's anticipated that as soon as we can get on the field, We'll start seeing scrimmages with 2 build-up teams to the independents, 2 build-up teams for those lower level age levels for the junior jacks, a blue and a red, a north and a south, who will then play into that eventual team that'll represent the Free Jacks, that will represent New England against competition from other parts of the world and other parts of the United States.
That's awesome. And sort of as the last point here, it sort of sounds like these next few months are nearly going to act as not only a development period, but also an identification period for what's to come for the next annual cycle. Would it be fair to say that when we access these 13 locations, we're going to be looking for talent to pull into our systems and get them into an annual program working with the Free Jacks at both the junior jack and also the independent level, men and women, boys and girls?
Absolutely. You know, good athletes aren't born in a day. That takes a lot of work. And a lot of people can get there if they've got a clear path and they're getting feedback, and they've got the coaching mentors and other players really who are many times the best coaches by just seeing other players do well. I think that's a key piece to it. So certainly that is already happening. Like, we've already started to identify quality athletes and quality coaches in the region, and that will continue over the next few months. And certainly that door will always be open for people to enter into the individual development programs and get a chance to get better. That's a really important piece for us.
Cool. And just to clarify, this is all additive. So every player, every coach will still need a club. They'll still need a high school. They'll still need a college team to play for. We are in additive opportunities. That,
yeah, we're just the scaffolding around all the other good stuff that's happening. Like, we're there to help enhance those experiences. And over time, there'll be more of those experiences because there'll be demand for more high school teams. There's going to be demand for more club teams, or club teams that are more robust, because more players will be coming through the system, right? And I think that's a really, really important piece of this, is if we can get 21 town rec departments and central New Hampshire to be excited about non-contact rugby, and we can do that in all 13 regions. Now we have something really, really powerful in the sport of rugby. We're changing not 10,000 lives, we're changing 100,000 lives in the region through this wonderful sport, and that's the goal for sure.
Fantastic. Hey, Mags, thank you from New England for making this come to fruition. I know it's been in the works for a long time now, and it's great to see the initial steps and the infrastructure being laid out. And if you've got anything else you'd like to say, feel free to take this time now to go ahead.
Yeah, TK, thank you, and thanks for all your efforts, and everybody else's. Like, this is awesome. I think just that a lot of people have collaborated and thought about ways that we can do this, and ways that what are the touch points that we really need to have to make the most impact. And that's the really exciting part about that. Right now, what I'm going through is trying to pick who's my favorite regional training group, because they're all that's the awesome stuff. So, and I want to get every one of the jerseys, and I'm just super pumped, and just that we're going to be providing more opportunities. There are going to be more kids and adults having a better experience and getting access to the amazingness of this sport, which has treated me so well, for 3+ decades of being a part of it. That I'm so excited that we get to share it with more people. And now we have a bit more of an infrastructure to help do that.
Fantastic. All right. Well, Mags, thank you very much for that insight. And if anyone has any further questions, feel free to reach out to info@freejacks.com, and we'll be sure to get back to you ASAP.
Great. TK, thank you. Let's ride.
Let's ride.